apologize in advance. Tom gave me a couple different topics that he asked if I would hit on today, so I thought, okay, I'll do that. I had a kind of a busy week last week, and I was in Pennsylvania for the weekend. Got back late Sunday night, and on my way back, heard about what was happening in Joplin. And my good intentions were to take Monday and really work on refining this presentation. So that went out the window in a hurry. You all know, I'm sure, as well as I do, that when bad things happen, all of a sudden our jobs become chaotic, don't they? So Monday was chaotic. Today's a little chaotic, but what I'd like to do is hit briefly on the I think there were 4 things that Tom had asked me to hit on, and then really just open it up for questions and answers. My goal for the day is to quit speaking before you quit listening. I always think that's a good target to shoot for. So what I'll do is I'll start out a little bit, tell you just a little bit about myself. Sometimes it's easier to listen to somebody if you know a little bit about them, you can identify with them, you can kind of develop some sort of a camaraderie there. After graduating from high school, I started my adult life deciding to become a state police officer. So I went to college, majored in criminology. And it was during that time in college that a change took place in my life, and I felt called to the ministry. So I did kind of a right-hand turn at that point, left that college, went to Bible college, went into being a youth pastor for a while, and then took another strange turn and ended up working in television. Excuse me. So I spent most of my adult life working in television, working in video production, TV production, television, broadcasting, that sort of thing. And then for the last probably almost 10 years now, I've been associated with Convoy of Hope in a humanitarian, faith-based compassion organization. So I was talking to somebody one day, and we talked about my career path. And I thought, man, you don't want to go down that crooked trail. I said, I started out life wanting to be a superhero crime fighter. And then I switched to wanting to become the next Billy Graham. And then I made another turn, wanted to become the next Steven Spielberg. And then I ended up in the Peace Corps. So it's been like this long and winding road, like the song. And that's how I got here to this point. But it's really been amazing to me, and I think you can probably identify with this, the experiences that I've had in life, how they've prepared me for what I do today. And Tom asked me to speak, and I really was a little bit flattered. I don't know if I should have been or not, but I thought, why would anybody want to hear me speak about PR? I've got to stand up here and admit to you, I am not trained in it. I am what I call a seat-of-the-pants PR person. I had no formal training, no schooling for it. I mean, my schooling started out, like I said, in a criminal justice atmosphere, and then went to a Bible college. And how that prepares you for public relations, I'm not sure. But the one thing I've always been is relational. I'm shy by nature, so when I first started public speaking, that was something that was very, very difficult for me. But over time, I got to the point where I could tolerate it, and now, once in a while, I even like it. But it's that winding road that kind of got me to this point. And as Tom and I were talking about, what he wanted to talk about today, we talked about several different things, but there were 4 that he wanted me to hit on. He wanted me to hit on why did Convoy of Hope make an emphasis on public relations? Because we've, in the last 6 months, made a significant change in our organization. He wanted me to talk about how we benefited from that. He wanted me to talk about, we made a decision as part of that process to enter into a licensing agreement with an organization called Vocus. If you've ever heard of the Vocus software package, we have that. So he wanted me to talk about that a little bit. And then the fourth and final thing, thanks to Melinda, who graciously let me come speak to one of her classes last year. He wanted me to speak about the power of a story, because that's something that I just really believe in. So we'll go through those four kind of quickly. I probably won't spend a lot of time because, like I said, I want to quit before you quit. But I do want to spend a little bit of time on that power of a story. Then I want to open it up for questions and answers at the end. I think that's usually the most informative time of any session like this. But before I hit those four, let me tell you the story. This is one that just really came to light recently, and it was interesting to me, because where I heard this story was in a group setting like this, in fact just about this many people, and what we were trying to accomplish in this meeting was to motivate people to get involved in compassion work like we do at Convoy Hope. So think of that setting, and somebody got up and told this story. He was trying to make the point of, we need to be out in the streets, we need to be out doing. And he told this story. You've all heard the story of the Egyptian uprising in the last several months, right? Everybody's seen that on the news. Kids, youth, young adults in Egypt started out into the streets, and that's what really started the whole revolution, was because they got out into the streets. And Hosni Mubarak, in that whole process, made one critical error. And what was happening is people were sitting in their basements, in their rooms, in their houses, on Facebook and Twitter, and they were talking, about how oppressive Egypt was and all these things that they wanted to see accomplished. And at that point, it was just a bunch of people in their basements and living rooms typing on the internet. He didn't like that. So what he did was he issued this, what's now an infamous command, to shut off the internet. So that's what happened. The Egyptians shut off the internet. The Egyptian techies went in. They made it almost impossible for people in Egypt to touch base with the outside world. And what happened was, it drove all those people in their homes out into the streets. They couldn't communicate any longer. They could not get their word out. And so, having human nature, they decided, we're going to get our word out in a different way. And they all went into the streets. And that was the beginning of that Egyptian uprising, and the beginning of the revolution. And I found that story interesting because it took a current event and really brought it home relevant. And I think that's one of the things that has worked for us at Convoy of Hope, is finding out what is relevant, what's going on, and then trying to position ourselves communications-wise and mission-wise as a part of that. So it's very easy in disaster response like this, when things happen in Haiti or Japan, or now in Joplin, recently in Alabama, it's very easy to become a part of what's going on culturally. But we'll come back to the whole story portion of it. Like I mentioned, Tom wanted me to touch base on those four topics. The first one is, why did Convoy make this emphasis on public relations? We had a public relations position